Ladies and gentlemen, life is full of challenges. Business is full of challenges. People are full of challenges. But let me ask you, will staring at a closed door ever open it? Number. The world doesn't reward those who point fingers at problems. It rewards those who build the door and walk through it. You see, most people freeze the moment they face difficulty. They talk, they whine, they wait. But the successful ones, they move, they think, they act. They don't obsess over what went wrong. They strategize on how to make it right. Let me tell you something powerful. Every problem you face is an possibility wearing the wrong outfit. It's messy, it's uncomfortable. But if you have the eyes to see through it, you'll realize it's a lesson, a chance, a step forward. When others say this is impossible solution, minded people say let's break it down. When others panic, they pause and plan. And when the world sees chaos, they see clarity. That's how achievement is built. Not by avoiding problems, but by mastering the art of solving them. Don't waste your drive repeating what's wrong. Channel your drive into discovering what could go right. You want to change your life, change how you respond to obstacles. Become the person who walks into a storm and says, I'll figure this out. Because in this world, you're remembered not for the problems you had, but for the solutions you created. In life, there is one guarantee: problems will come. They don't knock on your door politely, and they certainly don't wait for the right time. Whether it's in business, relationships, health, or personal goals, problems are an unavoidable part of the journey. But while problems are automatic, your reaction to them is not. You cannot always choose what happens to you, but you can always choose what you do next. That choice is what separates people who stay stuck from those who move forward. Think about it. Every successful person you admire today did not succeed because life was easy for them. They succeeded because when a problem showed up, they made a decision not to whine, not to blame, not to give up, but to find an answer. That's what makes the difference. A problem is just a signal. It tells you where something isn't working. But too many people spend all their time describing the problem in vivid detail. They'll say, the market is too slow. My team doesn't listen. There's no support. I don't have the resources. They become experts in their problems instead of experts in solving them. The real power begins when you shift your attention from the problem itself to the possibilities around it. Let's say you're building a startup and you suddenly lose a major client. That's a problem. You can either drown in frustration or you can ask, what can I learn from this? What needs to be fixed? How do we become stronger from this loss? One approach leads to depression. The other leads to reinvention. One keeps you in the past. The other moves you into the future. Problems don't respect titles, experience, or even intelligence. They show up for everyone. The key difference lies in how people respond. Emotionally driven people react. Solution-driven people reflect. When you understand this, your approach changes. You stop wasting time looking for someone to blame and start investing time in finding the next move. In business, if a product fails, it's not the end. It's feedback. If customers stop buying, don't panic. Listen, find out what they want, adapt, rebuild, and come back stronger. The most innovative ideas in the world often come from the darkest corners of setback. When something doesn't work, it exposes an area that's waiting for transformation. That's where the real possibility lies. Some people say, but I didn't create this problem. That may be true, but here's the truth. Even if it's not your fault, it's still your responsibility. Because the moment you make the problem your own, you regain power. You take control of the narrative. You decide that your drive won't be wasted on feeling stuck. It will be used to create momentum. Every answer starts with a decision to stop looking backward and start thinking forward. It doesn't mean you'll have the answer right away. It means you are committed to finding one. You may not know the how yet, but the willingness to search for it is already 50% of the answer. When your mind believes that there's always a way, it starts to find one. That's how entrepreneurs build empires. That's how ordinary people overcome extraordinary obstacles. It's not magic, it's approach. It's easy to be overwhelmed by problems when you let them define you, but problems don't define people. People define problems. When you take ownership of your situation, you give yourself the authority to change it. Life becomes a series of choices. Give up or grow, fear or faith, problem-focused or solution-driven. The problem will always be there. The real question is, will you choose to fix it, or will you let it fix you into a corner you never wanted to be in? Your mind is a powerful engine. Whatever you feed it with attention begins to grow, and whatever you ignore begins to wither. In every situation, whether good or bad, where you place your attention decides where your energy will go. This is not philosophy, it's practical reality. When you keep your attention fixed on problems, your energy is consumed by stress, fear, and negativity. But when you shift your attention to finding answers, building possibilities, or exploring alternatives, your energy turns into action, creativity, and momentum. Most people don't realize that attention is a currency. You spend it every day on worries, on tasks, on people, on thoughts. But unlike money, once your attention is spent on the wrong things, you can't buy your time or energy back. That's why it's so important to be intentional about where your mental focus goes. Because wherever it goes, your emotional, physical, and even financial energy will follow. If you constantly think about what's going wrong, you become tired, frustrated, and overwhelmed even before taking any action. The more you obsess over what might fail, the less courage you have to try. Why? Because your energy has already been drained by fear. On the other hand, if you spend your attention thinking about how to improve, how to grow, and what your next step should be, something changes inside you. You feel a sense of purpose, a direction, a spark. That's your energy aligning with your focus. Consider how athletes train. If they focus on their pain, their mind starts to shut down. But when they focus on the finish line, their energy rises. Even if their body is tired, business works the same way. Relationships work the same way. Life itself works the same way. Wherever your attention is pointed, that's where your strength will rise or fall. In leadership, this principle is even more important. If a leader keeps highlighting the company's problems, the team's morale begins to sink. But if that same leader shifts the focus toward what can be done, what progress is being made, then the team starts to feel hope, confidence, and ownership. The energy of an entire organization can change just by changing the direction of attention. Look at innovation. Great inventions don't come from focusing on limitations. They come from focusing on possibilities. When a challenge arises, the average mind sees a wall. The focused mind sees a door waiting to be discovered. The difference isn't in intelligence, it's in focus. The more you concentrate on what could be, the more your energy starts creating momentum toward making it real. Even in everyday life, this principle holds true. Focus on negativity and you'll feel stuck. Focus on gratitude and you'll feel abundance. Focus on distractions and you'll feel scattered. Focus on your priorities and you'll feel clarity. The outcome of your day, your work, your relationships, and even your health depends on the direction of your attention. The world today is full of noise, news, opinions, problems, temptations, endless distractions. If you're not deliberate about where you place your attention, someone or something else will place it for you, and often not in your best interest. That's why learning to control your focus is the key to mastering your energy. Because where your attention goes, your emotions follow, your decisions follow, your habits follow, and eventually your entire life starts moving in that direction. It's not about ignoring reality or pretending problems don't exist. It's about choosing not to feed them with your best energy. You acknowledge the problem, but you feed the solution. You see the setback, but you feed the lesson. You notice the obstacle, but you feed the possibility hiding inside it. Your life moves in the direction of your dominant thoughts, and those thoughts are shaped entirely by where your attention lies each day. Every problem you face in life is not just an interruption, it's a message, a signal. It's pointing directly at something that has been ignored, neglected, or underestimated. Problems don't show up to ruin your journey. They reveal parts of you, your business, or your environment that have room to grow. They are not the enemy of achievement. They are the compass to it. When something breaks down, it's revealing a weak spot. When a plan fails, it shows you what's missing. When you hit resistance, it's exposing the limits of your current strategy or mindset. These moments may feel uncomfortable, even painful, but they carry more potential for transformation than any moment of comfort ever could. Because what you discover inside a problem is the raw material of future strength. Think of some of the most successful innovations or solutions in the world. They didn't come from comfort zones. They were born out of frustration. They were built on setback. A product didn't work. A process broke down. A customer complained, and instead of running away, someone paid attention. They saw that the problem wasn't a dead end, but a doorway. It pointed to something that needed to be improved, something that had potential to become better, stronger, or more efficient. A business that loses customers has the chance to discover what the market truly values. A student who fails an exam is shown exactly where they need to focus their study. A team that misses a deadline learns where communication broke down. These are not just setbacks, they are spotlights. They shine directly on the areas where growth is not only possible but necessary, that is, potential. In fact, some of the greatest personal and professional breakthroughs come right after the biggest problems because a problem creates pressure, and pressure forces a response. You can ignore it or you can explore it. If you choose to explore, what you find is insight. Insight leads to innovation, and innovation leads to advantage. But none of that happens if you don't first recognize that the problem is not trying to destroy you, it's trying to teach you something. Many people see problems as signs that they should stop. They think maybe this isn't for me or maybe I'm not good enough. But the truth is often the opposite. That problem is the test that brings out the next version of you. It's the challenge that activates skills you haven't used yet. It's the moment where your raw potential is forced into motion. Like fire to metal, the heat of a problem reveals what's strong and what needs reinforcement. In a fast-changing world, those who succeed are not the ones who avoid problems. They are the ones who recognize them early and respond creatively. They treat each challenge as an indicator of where to focus their time, energy, and resources. They understand that problems are not setbacks, but clues, each one pointing toward a better version of a system, a product, a plan, or even a person. In leadership, problems highlight where the structure is fragile or where vision is unclear. For a team, they reveal where communication is weak or accountability is lacking. In personal life, they expose habits, mindsets, or relationships that are no longer aligned with your goals. You don't have to fear these revelations. You just have to be willing to face them and use them as guidance. When you start to see problems through this lens, you no longer feel threatened by them. You feel challenged and then called to rise. Problems remove illusions. They strip away the idea that everything is fine when it's not. And in doing so, they clear the path for growth, progress, and new understanding that wouldn't have come any other way. Momentum doesn't come from movement alone. It comes from belief from the internal engine that powers every external step. That engine is mindset. Before anything changes outside, it must shift inside. The way you think about your challenges, your goals, your worth, your path, all of it shapes the speed and direction of your progress. That's why mindset is not just important. It is the foundation of momentum. A powerful mindset can turn a slow beginning into an unstoppable rise. But a weak mindset can turn even the best resources into wasted potential. People often think momentum starts with action, but in truth, it starts with perspective. How you see a situation decides whether you approach it with fear or with fuel, whether you shrink back or lean in, whether you keep going when it's hard or give up when it's inconvenient. Look at the difference between someone who sees a setback as failure versus someone who sees it as feedback. The setback is the same, but the reaction is entirely different. The first person stops, the second person learns, adapts, and continues forward. That's momentum and action driven not by conditions, but by convictions, not by perfect circumstances, but by a mindset that says, I keep moving no matter what. Your mindset is the filter through which you interpret everything. If you believe you're capable, you'll see possibilities where others see problems. If you believe growth is possible, you'll view challenges as opportunities to expand. If you believe effort creates change, you'll never stay stuck for long. The mind becomes the lens through which momentum is either built or blocked. Momentum requires consistency, and consistency is hard without the right mental framework. A motivated mindset doesn't mean you feel good all the time. It means you stay disciplined even when you don't. It's what helps you wake up on difficult days and show up when nobody's clapping. It's the voice inside that says, keep going, when results haven't shown up yet. That's the root of all sustainable momentum. When people lose momentum, it's rarely because they've run out of talent or resources. Most of the time, they've run out of belief. They've allowed fear, doubt, or discouragement to slow them down internally, which then reflects in their external world. They stop trying new ideas. They stop pushing boundaries. They stop showing up with the same energy. The outside slows down because the inside gave up first. But when you train your mindset to see problems as puzzles, failure as feedback, and rejection as redirection, your internal energy stays alive. And when your internal energy stays alive, it pushes your actions forward, which creates progress. And that progress reinforces your belief. This cycle feeds momentum, and it all starts in the mind. Mindset also determines how you handle time. A growth mindset values the compound effect of small efforts over time. It doesn't demand instant results. It trusts the process. People with strong mindsets understand that momentum isn't created in one big leap. It's created in dozens of quiet steps that no one sees. They know that showing up consistently, even without applause, is what eventually builds massive acceleration. In business, a solution-oriented mindset pushes teams forward, even in uncertain markets. In leadership, a visionary mindset keeps organizations focused through transition or turbulence. In personal growth, a resilient mindset keeps you moving forward through loss, through failure, through change. It's never the situation alone. It's the state of mind navigating that situation that determines whether momentum builds or breaks. You can have all the tools, all the knowledge, and all the strategies in the world, but without a mindset that aligns with movement, those tools remain unused. They gather dust while you overthink your next step. But when your mindset is primed for growth, risk, and resilience, those same tools become weapons of progress. They fuel action, and action fuels results, and results fuel momentum. Leadership is tested not when everything is going well, but when everything starts to fall apart. When a storm hits, when a crisis strikes, when plans collapse. That is the moment when real leadership is revealed. Anyone can manage when the waters are calm, but great leaders rise when chaos begins. They don't freeze, they fix. The difference between someone in a leadership position and someone who actually leads is what they do when things go wrong. In times of uncertainty, average leaders wait for instructions. They panic. They hope the situation will resolve itself. But great leaders don't look for someone to blame or hide behind silence. They take ownership, they act quickly, they ask the right questions, and search for the right solutions. Freezing is a natural instinct. It's how the mind responds to fear or overwhelm. But in leadership, freezing becomes dangerous. It spreads confusion. It paralyzes teams. It delays progress. When the leader stands still, everyone stands still. Momentum dies. Trust weakens. People begin to question whether they're being led or simply being watched. That's why great leaders must learn to override the freeze instinct and instead shift into problem-solving mode. Fixing doesn't always mean having all the answers. It means being willing to find them. It means stepping forward when no one else will. It means saying, "We don't know the perfect path yet, but we'll figure it out together." That level of confidence and calm in the middle of a challenge creates security. It gives people a reason to trust. It reminds them that progress is still possible. Great leaders fix by staying focused on solutions, not blame. When something breaks down, a missed target, a failed launch, a PR disaster, they don't waste time pointing fingers. They ask, what can we learn from this? They break the problem down, they identify the root cause, and then they mobilize people to build something better. They use the problem as a foundation, not a wall. In business, there will always be setbacks. A competitor launches a better product. A key employee quits. A deal falls through at the last minute. These are not signs of failure. They are tests of leadership. When great leaders face these moments, they don't collapse under pressure. They remain grounded. They gather information, they listen to feedback, then they adjust their plan, reallocate their resources, and move forward. That ability to stay adaptable while still taking decisive action is what creates resilient organizations. Fixing also means protecting people. When tension rises, emotions can run high. Teams can start to panic or turn on each other. A great leader knows when to step in, not to scold, but to stabilize. They redirect the focus. They remind everyone of the bigger mission. They make hard decisions when necessary, but always with the long-term vision in mind. Leadership isn't about being liked in the moment. It's about doing what's right for the future. In startups, the leader often sets the pace. If the founder hesitates, the entire team begins to hesitate. But if the founder responds to challenges with creativity and composure, that energy becomes contagious. People start thinking in solutions, not complaints. They start looking at obstacles as opportunities. That cultural shift starts with the mindset of the person at the top. Even in personal leadership, whether you're guiding a family, a community, or yourself, the principle holds true. Freezing gets you stuck. Fixing gets you moving. You can't lead from a place of fear. You lead from clarity, courage, and commitment to growth. When you choose to fix rather than freeze, you send a message to everyone watching progress as possible, even when the path isn't clear. You may not control the situation, but you control your response to it. That response defines what comes next. In conclusion, focusing on solutions instead of problems is not just a mindset. It's a strategy for achievement in life, business, and leadership. Problems are a constant. They come without warning and affect everyone regardless of status or intelligence. But what defines a winner is how they respond. Instead of drowning in negativity or blaming circumstances' solution, focused individuals rise with purpose. They shift their energy from what went wrong to what can be done next. That shift creates clarity, confidence, and momentum. Every challenge you face is an opportunity in disguise. It reveals your weaknesses, but it also points to your greatest growth potential. By directing your attention towards solutions, you empower yourself to think creatively, act decisively, and lead effectively, even under pressure. This mindset transforms setbacks into comebacks and failure into fuel. It trains you to adapt, improve, and keep moving forward no matter what. Success doesn't come from avoiding problems. It comes from embracing them and solving them with vision, courage, and consistency. When you train your mind to ask, how can I fix this? Instead of, why is this happening to me? You reclaim control. Your focus becomes your power, and your solutions become your legacy. Thank you.